Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine showed the world that wars of aggression are not a thing of the past. And as we grapple with how to best respond to Russia's invasion, a study of history should remind us of what is and isn't effective when dealing with belligerent aggressor nations. For example, after World War I, Western Europe wanted to prevent the atrocities of the war from ever happening again. Rules of war that had begun to take shape through various Geneva Conventions culminated in the League of Nations. Prohibitions around biological and chemical weapons followed, along with the notion that civilians were exempt from indiscriminate slaughter. But in 1936, the Spanish Civil War shattered these illusions. Both sides of the conflict murdered innocent people. Cities were bombed indiscriminately with no strategic rationale. Citizens who remained neutral were executed. The Spanish Civil War raged for 3 years, cost 500,000 lives, and left Spain in shambles. The war revealed the ineffectiveness of the League of Nations to stop such atrocities, and the naivety of the belief that civilians were off limits. Then came World War II. Once again, the League of Nations was unable to prevent the war, and the Geneva Conventions were unable to stop the mass industrial warfare that resulted in the loss of over 55 million lives, the vast majority of whom were civilians. Today, the invasion of Ukraine echoes the shock the world experienced in 1936. Vladimir Putin views civilians as acceptable targets, and the Russian army commits frequent war crimes, while the United Nations has been utterly ineffective at brokering any peace in Ukraine. Even during times of peace, it is important to realize that aggression is always lurking and ready to test the world's tolerances. There will always be nations who disregard international law and the rules of war, and who are only deterred by forceful resistance. The barbaric side of human nature will continue to show its face, but there are ways to minimize casualties and avoid worst-case scenarios. The US and its allies must have the willpower and resolve needed to respond to Russia's war with Ukraine with force, threading the needle between supporting a sovereign state that was barbarically invaded and yet not entering into a direct confrontation with nuclear Russia, whose increasingly erratic leader commands an arsenal of 7,000 nuclear weapons.